I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. von Stroheim. This is Greed. Yeah, do you ever take out contacts? Oh, you're wearing you wear glasses all the time.
I never wear contacts.
You never, okay.
Because I can't. I have a thing about touching my eye.
Yeah.
It weirds me out a little bit.
Well, yeah. So that's the thing. I never know if it's weird if I should just I'm fine with sticking my hand in my eyeball anytime, any place. I don't even need to be in front of a mirror. But I'm scared other people would judge me.
I don't think so. It's pretty normalized.
It's also kind of gross if I don't get to wash my hands before. But
yeah,
it's such a quick it's such a quick movement that boop, I can flick it out.
It's enough time for all the bacteria from your hands to get in your eye.
Yes.
Glasses are just so easy for me. You just take them on and take them off, and that's it. You don't have to order more. You don't have to soak them. Put them in a little.
But you can't wear sunglasses. That's my number one reason why I don't wear glasses.
Why?
Because I love sunglasses.
Okay, Jackie, I'm going to let you in on a secret. This is what I do.
You have separate sunglasses, prescription sunglasses.
Yeah, prescription.
I don't want to do that.
Oh, you don't want to have two sets?
No. I want to buy whatever glasses I want, have multiple pairs of sunglasses, not just be chained to one sunglasses.
Get transition lenses.
So that's the main reason I don't wear glasses. I wear them at night, though. I know I should start just wearing them at night, all the time, so I don't have to deal with that. The reason we're talking about this is because we went to see a movie and my eyes were so dry that I couldn't enjoy the movie.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Mine were just fine because I was wearing my glasses.
There you go.
Welcome to Seen and Heard. This is the podcast where two entertainment assistants, Jackie and I, go through the Sight and Sound Top 100 Greatest Films of All Time list. This week, we're at number 84. It's one of those tied for 84s. It's we've done a few of these in the past. Because we do ping pong between the top and the bottom. So this week we're at number 84, Erich von Stroheim's Greed from 1924.
I love these silent films that just have what the movie's about as the title. One word.
Intolerance. Jinx.
What about Sunrise, though? Song of Two Humans.
Sunrise is a little more poetic, I'd
bit
say,
more, yeah.
Yeah, actually, now that you mention it, a lot of silent films have a very matter-of-fact
very
title.
Obvious title.
Yeah.
Very on the nose.
I kind of like that because you know what to expect going in. You're like, okay, this is the theme of the movie.
Yeah.
Now show me.
Yeah. I'm trying to think about a movie today that could have done that. I don't know, Licorice Pizza. What would the obvious name for Licorice Pizza be?
Growing Pains.
The Valley.
The Valley. Growing up in the valley.
Yeah.
Valley pains.
Even that is too poetic. Greed, intolerance.
I like greed for this, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Anyway, Shame is good. I'm looking in your cabinet right now. Shame just popped out.
Yeah, the
me.
Steve McQueen movie. Yeah. See,
that's not really what it's about, but kind of.
Kind of is. Yeah.
Something there.
Yeah, porn addiction. It is. That's what the movie's about.
I know.
I remember when that came out, I had to go to a special theater just to see it because it was NC-17.
Oh, shit, really?
Yeah.
I didn't see it in theaters.
Oh, I did. I was there.
How was that? Was that weird?
No, it's great. I'm seeing the Brown Bunny this weekend at the New Beverly, so I'm used to, seeing...
I've never seen an NC-17 movie.
Oh.
In a theater.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
What have you been watching this last week, Jackie? Before we get into Greed, just give us a little sample here. Just do a little dance for us.
Last Night in Soho, which if we were doing the very obvious title would just be Men Are Trash.
Yeah.
But yeah, it starts really strong, except the really kind of corny and unrealistic generic telling of what it's like being a college girl, because it's not like that. But other than that, it starts really strong. I like when she goes back in time and the music is fantastic, and then it just gets really convoluted and really just not what it promised to be.
Yes.
Very quickly.
Completely agree with you.
But music's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad I saw it. I wanted to see it, and I'm glad I did.
Diana Rigg, R.I.P.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
She's kind of wasted in that movie, actually.
She's totally wasted.
Like, she's in it a decent amount, but her character's arc is not great.
It's not great. It's very confused. It doesn't really know what it's trying to do with that character, I feel like. I was shocked, though. I didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
Did you? I mean,
I guess not. But when it happened, I was like,
yeah.
This is where we're going?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I saw Elvis with you.
Oh. I don't remember that.
Yeah, so here's what happened. So I was listening to our Moulin Rouge episode the day before it was released. And in that episode, we say, oh, neither of us have seen Elvis. So I just texted Greg. I'm like, you know what? Let's just go tonight. And we did. And I was thinking about all the things we said and loved about Moulin Rouge while I was watching Elvis. And it had zero of anything that we talked about.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And you know how we talked about one of our talking points was that we love how in Moulin Rouge none of the actors are taking themselves too seriously and everyone is okay with being silly. And here's the thing. Tom Hanks takes that to an extreme degree to the detriment of the movie, incredibly harmful to the movie. His existence, the character's existence, and his performance is just so wrong for the movie that I'm heartbroken. I'm really sad, actually.
I love Tom Hanks, and
Me
I want him
too.
to do more risky, interesting roles because I feel like he's always relegated to like these great American heroes. Like, and again, this is risky in one way because it's so out of his comfort zone, but it's also based on a real guy. Yeah, but he embarrasses himself in this movie.
Yes, it's really sad, and it's like, okay. I mean, overall,
we laughed every time he came on screen.
It was hilarious. It was a great time. I had a fantastic time.
Yeah.
I just want to say that. I didn't want it to end. It was a hoot. It's just, overall, I would say it's just a bad idea to make a movie about Elvis that's not really about Elvis. So, yeah, that's where that movie stands.
Yeah, I think I'm not into Elvis, and I think, but still the movie should like make me care. And I know it's like a high bar to set, but I just rewatched Raging Bull because Criterion has this amazing new 4K disc out. And I don't care about sports and I don't care about boxing or Jake LaMotta, but that movie makes you care.
Yeah.
So it's possible, that's what a movie should strive to do. If you're not an Elvis fan, you should still be invested in the movie, which I was not.
We talked about how Baz Luhrmann has no like really three-dimensional character.
No.
I feel like to have a biopic, if he's going to do a biopic, you're not going to care about the person.
Yeah.
Anyway, I also saw Irma Vep, which I've never seen.
So good.
It's
incredible.
So good. We're talking about the movie here. It came out in 96, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Olivier.
Maggie Chung.
Yeah.
Olivier Assayas.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Maggie Chung. Fantastic.
So good.
I haven't stopped thinking about it. It's so good. If you haven't seen it, and if you are interested in what is happening in the film industry, it's so relevant, and it's 25 years old.
You know what? That movie, that's my 8.5.
Yeah, that's a great 8.5. That's my Day for Night.
Oh, yeah. I like it more than Day for Night too,
Me
but
too.
I still love Day for Night. Yeah,
That's my Day for Night.
that's good. Both with Jean-Pierre
But it's just
Léaud.
fantastic. And then, so there's a series, and I think we talked about this. Olivier Assayas is doing the series himself, and yeah, I'd be fascinated to check it out because it's so interesting. Because the movie itself is about how like remakes are bad unless they're taken in a different direction. So apparently that's what this series is. It's completely different, apparently.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested to check it out.
Yeah, me too.
What have you been watching?
So yeah, we did see Elvis. I also saw The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly with you at the new Bev.
Oh, yeah.
On a beautiful
See, that's-
35 millimeter Technicolor print.
It was beautiful, but that was the movie,
The movie
where
where
my
your
eyes were
eyes-
extremely
I know,
dry.
sorry. And that was your first time.
Yeah, but I still liked it.
That's one of those movies that while you're watching it, you're like, this is the greatest fucking movie ever made. Like that's how when it's on, you're just like, there's no better movie in existence. I saw Summertime, the David Lean movie with Katharine Hepburn, which was so good. Which
It
was
is so good.
Oh my god!
Isn't
Oh
it?
my
Yeah,
God.
yeah. Like Just a treasure, a delight. It's an Aperol Spritz of a movie.
It's an Aperol Spritz, but it still has substance.
Yes.
And it's very, very meaty.
Yes, it's got bitters in it, definitely.
Yeah, and she carries that movie.
Oh my
Katharine
God.
Hepburn is so good in that.
It's so sad.
It's beautiful. I saw Roller Coaster with George Segal, which is a fucking blast, which is a disaster movie from the 70s where this guy puts a bomb on a roller coaster.
Oh my God.
Great fun movie. I saw a movie called Superior, directed by Erin Vesopoulos. It was her directorial debut. It came out last year, and it's a very, very cool kind of lynchy character thing about these two twin sisters that come into each other's lives after a couple years, and they kind of start assuming the role of the other person.
Ooh.
Really cool movie. I'm very excited to see what she does next. And then I saw Demons 2, the Lamberto Bava movie, produced by Dario Argento. I'd seen Demons 1, which is like a cult classic. Demons 2, people shit on. I actually thought Demons 2 was a little bit better than Demons 1. It's a great time. And then last, I played a game called Stray. So I'm not like a big video game person, but...
Oh my God, I know what this is.
Yeah, so it's Annapurna Interactive. It's a new game that they just put out. I played it on PS4. But
you have a PS4?
Yeah. Don't you?
I didn't know that.
I thought don't
yeah,
you?
I do. I didn't know you did.
Yeah. I play the occasional game.
I heard about Stray and I'm like, I want to play this.
It's incredible. Like, again, I'm drawn to these sort of like indie games, like these sort of like, you know, it's a film. It's atmospheric. It's artistic. And I think, you know, I don't want to diminish the video game medium at all, because I have a lot of friends that are really into video games, and they tell me, because I don't game that much, they tell me about all these games that supposedly are full of artistic value. Mm-hmm. And I don't doubt that. But this game specifically had a really beautiful world, this kind of sad post-apocalyptic world, but it was done in a sort of warm and cozy way. But you're this cat that falls down in the beginning. You're with this pack of cats, and you fall down into this like underworld with a bunch of these like sad robots who are just trapped under this big dome. But it's really beautiful game. I played it in like 2 days. It's not a super long game. You can play it in a couple hours, but it was beautiful, and I was really floored by it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a Stray, great game.
I would play that.
You should.
But like, okay, you played for 2 days?
Well, I think total maybe it took me like 5 hours to play
that's
or something.
it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I can't play video games like all day. Some friends I have can't. I can only play for a couple hours at a time. But yeah, it was like two sittings or something. I beat it.
Cool. I'll have to check it out.
It's beautiful. Honestly beautiful, yeah. Anyway, with that said, should we get into this week's movie?
Yeah, let's do it.
From 1924, this is Erich von Stroheim's Greed.
Greed was released in the United States in 1924. It is an epic silent film written and directed by Erich von Stroheim, based on the 1899 novel McTeague by Frank Norris, cinematography by Ben F. Reynolds and William H. Daniels. Greed tells the story of a former miner turned dentist, McTeague, aka Mac, in 1910's San Francisco. McTeague marries his best friend Marcus's cousin/girlfriend, Trina. On the eve of their wedding, Trina learns she has won $5,000 as a result of buying a lottery ticket months earlier. A jealous Marcus eventually gets Mac banned from dentistry by reporting that he is practicing without a formal education or license. Meanwhile, Trina becomes more and more obsessed with money, refusing to spend it and refusing to dip into her small fortune even when her and Mac are needy. Mac eventually leaves Trina and returns only when he is down on his luck and in need of cash. He kills her, steals the $5,000, and hits the road, heading back to the mine he started in. Eventually, Marcus hunts him down. The two squabble in Death Valley with no water, and although they are both surely done for, they fight to the death over the $5,000. Mac kills Marcus, but realizes that Marcus has handcuffed their hands to one another, dooming Mac to live out the rest of his short time sweating while shackled to a guy he hates. The film stars Gibson Gowland as McTeague, Zazu Pitts as Trina, Gene Herschelt as Marcus, and it took 9 months to shoot, $500,000, 15 months to edit. It was shot entirely on location. That's the real Death Valley. That's really San Francisco, which was really rare, of course, back then for a silent studio film. The film is infamous for the amount of editing it has been through. We'll get more into it later, but basically, there was originally a 9-hour cut, which only 12 people ever saw. Went from 47 reels to then 42 reels, and a reel is like 10 to 12 minutes in length. And von Stroheim wanted to accurately represent the novel, which is why it was so long at first, but he knew that it couldn't be 9 or 7 hours long, so he decided on 4 hours. Then he sent his 4-hour cut to his friend, the director, Rex Ingram, who cut it down to 3 hours. Then the studio got its hands on it and chopped it up into 2 hours and 20 minutes. And although credited as the co-writer technically, June Mathis was the head story producer at MGM. And based on her contract, she had to get co-writer credit for all MGM movies, even though she did not.
What a sweet deal.
I know. Yeah, the extra reels were melted down to extract silver nitrate.
God.
Isn't that crazy?
They just did not give a fuck back in the day.
I know.
No sense of preservation at all.
No, none. And even I read somewhere that the Margaret Herrick Library reached out to try and get a copy for their just archives, and MGM said no.
Wow.
Yeah. It was a box office and critical failure. I read one review from the Harrison Report that said, if a contest were to be held to determine which has been the filthiest, vilest, most putrid picture in the history of the motion picture business, I am sure that greed would win.
Oh, I love that.
I love that. I love that. And in 1999, a restoration was started by Turner Classic Movies. It was headed by the film archivist Rick Schmidlin, using existing footage and 650 still photos. Also, he had an original continuity outline, which was written by von Stroheim, which he used on set. A new musical score by Robert Israel was written. And the subplots of Maria and the old neighbors, Mr. Granis and Miss Baker, were finally restored. They were not in the studio version of the movie. And the film was tied for 7th place on the first Sight and Sound list in 1952.
Mm-hmm.
And since 1972, though, it has failed to reach a spot in the top 10. And it now sits, as we said, at number 84.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the history of greed.
Do you know, I heard something about how the studio was some merger happened, or there was a shifting of power while the movie was in production. I can
get into it right now.
Why don't you?
What happened was, so von Stroheim was kind of notorious for constantly going over budget. He was always behind schedule. Movies were going way longer than intended. So he was fired from Universal by Irving Thalberg when he was working on this movie called Foolish Wives. And then after 6 weeks of filming Merry Go Round, he was fired from the studio as a whole from Universal. And he was hired at Goldwyn. But what happened was this merger was happening with Metro and Goldwyn during the editing of this movie. So what happened was, I guess Irving Thalberg was one of the founders of Metro, and he became his boss midway through the edit, which sucks because they already hated each other.
Yeah.
Isn't that horrible?
It's terrible.
And they didn't advertise the movie. I think they all knew that it was going to flop. They're like, this is a really nihilistic, long movie. No one's going to like it. Why waste money on advertisement? And they really doomed the movie, with all the cuts and with that. And yeah. It's a tragedy. So what happened with von Stroheim is he worked in France a lot as an actor. After a few movies.
I think he actually opened the first McDonald's in France.
Are you serious?
No.
You're so annoying. What actually happened was He eventually stopped getting jobs because he was unwilling to compromise his vision. He was actually supposed to be the director for this Gloria Swanson movie, ironically enough, called Queen Kelly, but was fired over mounting costs.
Oh, Cadet Kelly.
You're right. It is Cadet Kelly. Mounting costs and disagreements with Swanson. So he was fired from that movie. And after that, he kind of decided like, okay, I'm going to act now. I mean, he was always an actor. He was actually an extra in Intolerance.
Oh,
he was an assistant director and an extra in Intolerance.
Oh, I knew about the assistant director thing.
He was one of the pharaohs.
Did we talk about that in our Intolerance episode?
I don't think so. And for those of you who don't know, he is in Sunset Boulevard. He is the butler.
He is Gloria Swanson's
Max,
chauffeur.
Who in the movie is himself a jaded director who no longer works. So
Brilliant.
It's kind of perfect.
Yeah.
He's also really well known for playing, for being in Jean Renoir's La Grande Illusion, in which he plays the commander of the PWO camp that it takes place in. Haven't seen that movie, but apparently he's really good in that too. He was known for being he always plays like creepy guys.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I gotta see that.
Yeah. Well, it's on the list, so we'll get to it.
Exactly. Did you know that when he immigrated to the United States, he's Austrian. When he immigrated, he lied and said that he was the son of noblemen and made up, his name is completely made up.
Really?
Like, he made up his whole name and it's long. If you look it up, it's like, it has like 5 parts, his name.
Really?
He was known for like making shit up. Just like pathological liar.
Wow.
I know.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
To think you can just immigrate and completely just conjure up a whole new last name for yourself.
Isn't that crazy? Oh, I must add though, like it didn't really work because he lived in poverty for many years before he made it in the industry.
That's sadly the story of many people.
I don't know. But what are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, so this movie has always loomed large, like the way that people talk about it. And it's like essential viewing. Mm-hmm. And it escaped me for years. I think too, because it's kind of hard to track down. For example, this movie's never been, when we watched it, we both watched it streaming on Amazon where we paid to rent it, but it was in standard definition. So this movie has it's not in high def. It's not, It doesn't have a Blu-ray release in any country. I checked because I prefer not to watch stuff in standard definition. But for this, there was no other option. Mm-hmm. So going in, knowing this was 4 hours, which is funny because we just did A Brighter Summer Day, which is 4 hours. And that movie broke me. So I was dreading this.
Yeah.
I think we both were.
Well, we kind of were.
Because we seem to be getting all the long movies all at once. So yeah, I was not looking forward to watching this. And I put it on last night. And I, again, kind of waited till the last minute. Like I could have watched this a few days ago. But I was like, I put it off. And I turned it on. And within 2 minutes, I was completely in it. And it's funny because it just goes to show you, like, I was not in the mood to watch this when I started it. And the movie won me over. And I think, again, sometimes I've excused maybe, like, for A Brighter Summer Day, for example, I've been like, oh, maybe I wasn't in the right headspace to watch it or something. But again, it goes to show you that something that's really great, something that you really connect with, you could even be like not in the mood to watch it and it still can win you over. Mm-hmm. So this movie won me over very quickly and then just kept going. So I think this movie is incredible. I think, again, it's as it is, it's not a complete film because no one will ever see, the standard is like the 2 hour, 20-minute version. It's funny that when I was looking for the streaming, all I could find was
It's impossible. That's why I was so confused. I could not find. I was ready to watch a 2.5 hour version.
Yeah,
because I figured that's what all these critics that have been voting for it for years have been watching.
I think that's the case.
Impossible. There was one on YouTube that was like 2 hours. One that was like an hour and a half. Like weird. There was no 2.5 hours.
Yeah. I think too that a lot of that has to do with silent film can be played at different speeds, which affects the runtime in weird ways. But could not find the 2.5 hour version of this. All I saw was an 84-minute version and then this 240-minute version.
Yeah.
So yeah, we both did the whole fully reconstructed 4 hour version because we have to. Come on, this is the podcast. We're taking this shit seriously. Plus, I don't want to after finally hearing about Greed for all these years, I don't want to see this like super butchered version of the movie. I was so glad that I watched that full 4 hour version. This movie, again, we talked about this in A Brighter Summer Day. It's novelistic. Again, it's based on a book and it feels like it, but in the best way. What I can say about this movie was that and I know I've said this before, but the movie kind of like holds you throughout it in the sense that like I was always invested in the story and I was always invested in each new plot development. And I was so caught up in each way it went, and it zigged and zagged. And of course it's melodrama, and it's heightened, and it's kind of ridiculous. If you were to like recount this story, you'd be like, what the fuck? And from the beginning, really. But it's like, it so has you while you're watching it. And it just, again, the score is amazing. With these silent films,
good.
So much depends on the score. And I thought it was Carl Davis while I was watching it, who does most of the silent films, and he's a great composer. But yeah, it's
1999.
It's Robert Israel. Mm-hmm. Incredible score. And I think it just like, I really like this one, Jackie. I know we are not so on the same page with this one, but I think it's just a case of like really buying into the story early on, and the movie kept me throughout.
Did you watch half last night, half this morning? Because originally Erich von Stroheim said that it's going to be a 2-night event when it was going to be 4 hours.
Oh.
He said the first part you would buy a ticket, and it would be you go the first night for the first part, and then
smart
second
man.
night, second part. Yeah.
Very smart man. Unlike Edward Yang, who forced us to sit through Brighter Summer Day all at once with no intermission at all because he's an asshole. This is a case of I love Edward Yang. Please, that hurt when I just said that.
Aww.
This is a case of there's an intermission halfway through, and this is divided into part 1 and part 2.
Yeah.
Like a lot of silent films, a lot of silent epics. You think of Fritz Lang's films like Mebusa the Gambler or like Die Nibelungen or something. Like those are multiple. They're big stories, but they're multiple parts that are kind of supposed to be ingested one at a time. So I was fully intending last night to just watch the first part. But I got to the 2-hour mark, and I was still invested, and I kept going.
Serious?
Yeah, because I was in it. I did it because I started this like at 9:00 at night, because I was only expecting to watch the first part. I did start to get tired, so at about the 3-hour mark, I did stop, and I finished the 4th hour this morning. But I wanted to watch it all in one sitting because I was completely in it. And when I woke up, I was genuinely excited to put it on and see how this ended. So this movie, I was just wrapped up in it. It's told really, it's a big story. It's not subtle. Again, it's right there in the title, greed, and the poster with the hand that's coming down, and like it's all there. It's not subtle.
Yeah.
Like honestly, so few silent films are subtle because you have to, just the nature of the medium is you have to be big.
Yeah.
I dug it though as just this like kind of juicy, dark melodrama. I just really dug it. Again, I'm from the Bay Area, so I love seeing all this like 1910s San Francisco. I saw the ferry building, which still looks the same as it did then. And at one point too, he talks about crossing the bay for dinner. I think Carl crosses the bay to have dinner with friends or family, or sorry, Marcus. So I loved all that. And then of course Death Valley, and there's I love the locations, and I was completely in it, and I loved it felt like you were reading a book, and I could see how someone would say, hey, this isn't how you make a movie, like this is too many details. But for me, I dug the subplots with the old neighbors.
I love the subplots.
I love that. I love the subplots with Maria and that creepy guy that ends up murdering her. Yeah. Like, I loved that the movie took these tangents, because I was like, oh, are these going to like tie back in a big way?
Yeah.
No, not really. But it's just, it's part of the bigger world of the story. And I dug that it was this big sprawling story, but done on a small scale that just kept giving you more stuff. It's very juicy. That's it's a juicy movie. And I really dug it. Again, half the movie is still photos. Half, maybe? Would you say it more than a half? 60%, 70%, 65%.
I'd say like 65, 70.
So, but here's the thing. You kind of forget after a while. You kind of forget, at least I do. You're giving me a funny look right now. But you kind of forget, and at first it's jarring, but the more of the movie you watch, the more that those still photo sequences just kind of like blend into the fabric of the film. And I kind of enjoyed them, actually, because the score is still there. They're scored. And it's just like, yeah, although there was one too many, like the transition with like the aperture closing on someone's face.
Yeah.
What's that called?
I don't
just like an aperture close.
I always forget.
Every scene basically ended that way. And there was kind of a Ken Burns effect with like panning up and down across photos and zooming in and zooming out. But
what else were they supposed to do?
I know.
Really?
I dug it. I was totally wrapped up in this. By the time it ended with them in Death Valley and them handcuffed together and these dying in the desert and the bird flies off, I was just like, this is fucking great.
The bird is great.
This is fucking great. Reminds me of Blade Runner with Rutger Hauer at the end of Blade Runner. But yeah, I really, really dug this. This, we'll never see the full version of this ever. I dug the 4-hour version though. I think, this isn't something I'd put on, every year. But I could see, in a couple years sitting down to watch this again. Like, this was not my only time seeing this movie. Whereas, like, with Brighter Summer Day, I mean, that was my second time seeing that. But I was like, that's it, I'm done. I would watch this again in a couple years. So, yeah, dug it a lot. Borderline loved it. Anyway, let me hear your thoughts on this.
Okay. Here's what von Stroheim says. I'm full of quotes today. Here's what von Stroheim said. So he had cut it down to 4 hours, and he said that I can't cut that much more. And the reason why is, here's what he said. I could take out sequences and thus get the job over in a day. That would be child's play, but I can't do it. It would leave gaps that could only be bridged through titles. When you do such a thing, you have illustrated subtitles instead of a motion picture. And that is why I think it's wrong to have this movie on the list. Because it's not a movie.
I mean, it is a movie.
I mean, it is predominantly still photographs and intertitles. And it's not like La Jetée, which is like supposed to be that and is a short movie and is an experimental movie.
The Chris Marker movie?
Yes. This is a butchered work and it's sad. Like, this is not, I didn't feel like I watched a movie. I felt like I watched like someone's thesis about this movie.
After 4 hours.
Yes. Like, what is the version that critics voted on?
It's not this one.
Exactly. I wish I saw the 2.5 hour version, actually. I do. Because that's what's so beloved. No one has seen the 9 hour version.
But
no one
besides
has seen
those
the
12
4-hour version except a few people.
But don't you think some of the touches here that are only given through still photographs, like the elderly neighbors, don't you think they were a nice touch? Like, you would have completely missed them if you'd watched the shorter version.
But I still would have seen like a more cohesive moving movie. I don't know.
No, I get what you're saying.
I don't know. It's like it was hard to get into it because of that. Honestly, it dominated the whole experience from the moment I started it. I feel like I haven't seen this movie. I feel like I know what this movie's about, but I haven't seen this movie.
Really?
Yes.
I feel like I've seen it.
I don't.
Interesting.
It's weird. Overall, I think it's really great, though. Obviously, like, I love that they're flawed people and it's about a flawed relationship before it's about greed. Like we were saying, it wears its heart on its sleeve. It's about greed. But I love that they are flawed before greed even comes into the picture. Mm-hmm. They're horrible people. And they don't like each other. And I love that.
Yeah.
They really don't.
I feel like everyone back then just got married because the first person that asked them, if they asked them twice, I'm like, yeah, sure.
But I kind of love that it's sold as this didactic, moralistic tale, but it's really not. It's really not.
No.
And it's because
so
von Stroheim is so unconventional. And for that, obviously, it's great, but I do wish I saw a more constructed version. I do.
You know what I felt like after I saw this version? I felt like I read a book.
Yes, because we did a lot of reading. We did 4 hours of reading. Yeah.
I think you do more reading in A Brighter Summer Day, which is also 4 hours.
But there's a difference between a movie in a different language and reading subtitles and this. Because this, you're just reading English, you're reading prose. Like in that, it's like, I'm still watching a movie, watching actors act out what I'm hearing them say.
Right. I mean, you are in here to an extent.
Anyway. But this movie had a big influence on Eisenstein. He loved it. Jean Renoir, Lubitsch, Joseph von Sternberg are some of the people who have said how important this movie is.
Yeah.
People compare it to like Rear Window a little bit because of all the neighbors. Apparently it's like really comparable to Mikey and Nikki, which I don't see at all.
What?
There's like this whole thing online about how like Elaine May was so influenced by this movie, which I don't really understand.
Maybe the central
just because
theme.
they're like friends that turn on each other because of money.
Oh, okay,
like,
sure. Yeah.
I don't know.
I love the main guy in this. What's his name again? Crawford or something?
It is Gibson Gowland.
Gibson Gowland.
Gowland,
yeah. He was great. I've never seen him in anything else.
He's great, but it's like he starts the movie as an old man.
He looks older than he is, too. But yeah.
He's just like old the whole time.
Yeah.
I love that he has
I don't think
that
he's quite as
visor.
old as he looks.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
It's the eyebrows.
Yeah.
That visor when he's like being a dentist that's just sitting on the top of his curly hair. It's not like covering his eyes at all.
His curly hair. I love his curly hair.
He's so burly. He's Jean
burly.
Valjean. He is.
I guess
he's
so.
a villainous Jean Valjean.
Yeah.
He's like burly and like strong for no reason until the very end. When he saves that piano, that guy that's stuck under the piano.
Yeah.
I swear to God, that's all I was thinking about was Jean Valjean.
Of course, you could only think of Jean Valjean.
Right? But I want to go back and talk about like some of the rumors around this movie because Erich von Stroheim was such a pathological liar, as we said. So there's all these rumors, okay? There's a rumor that the original version was found in South America and that it was screened once a year for invited guests on New Year's Eve.
When?
Like I don't know, in the 20th century sometime. Like an Eyes Wide Shut party. But this movie, imagine sitting down to watch like the 9-hour version. Von Stroheim said that Mussolini owned a personal copy. He said that himself. And then his son, while he was in Europe during World War II, said, oh yeah, like I saw a version screened somewhere, but I don't remember how long it was.
You know what I kind of love about that, though?
It's
on
cool.
Von Stroheim's part, he's like making his own mythology.
I think so too.
In an age where social
And he
media
did that, yeah.
and the internet does not exist, he's conjuring it himself, which is
yes.
cool.
Yeah, and there's so many rumors that it's somewhere in the vault in MGM somewhere.
Sounds like they just burned it.
It sounds like they just burned it.
Listen, too, as someone who loves the 4-hour version of this, I cannot imagine a 9-hour cut. Like
Horrible.
that's too much.
But I would want to see all the what's his name? Gillis?
The old guy?
The old couple.
Old Gillis. Oh, yeah, Gillis.
And Maria, like I want to see them in action.
Yeah. Does Maria have no live action stuff?
None.
Oh my God.
Except I think when she's giving her the lottery ticket.
You know, it's funny when this movie started and he becomes the dentist through just kind of learning the trade. I was like, wait, why are they kind of scrounging for pennies? Like dentists now are paid so much money.
Same. And it seems like he's the only struggling dentist because he goes to that other dentist who's like, well, I can take that giant gold tooth off your hands for $500 if you really need it. Why is he struggling so much?
Does he offer him $500 for the gold tooth or $500?
I thought it was $500.
Was it?
Yeah.
And then later he offers him $5?
$5?
Yeah, because he brings it back later and he's like, I don't want it anymore. He's like, oh, but if it'll help you, I'll give you $5 for it.
I thought it was $500.
No, it was $5. Because $500 is a shit ton of money back then.
Imagine $5,000.
Well, yeah. So I looked it up. By today's standards, that's like $85,000 or something.
Wow. Let's talk about how this movie starts because I feel like
I love how it starts.
it feels like a study though. Like you are given so much information before the movie starts, okay? Mm-hmm. You're overloaded. It tells you about the cuts. There's like this rolling credit that tells you about how the missing version of this movie is the holy grail of cinema, okay? That's what you start this movie with, okay? There's a quote by von Stroheim about how sad he is that they mutilated his work. Okay. Then
Look how they massacred my boy.
Exactly. Then you have a book opening like a Disney movie with another quote by the author of the movie, the author of the book, Frank Norris. Okay. Which I feel like is a very von Stroheim quote because it's about like being like kind of being unconventional and just speaking the truth. Do you remember what the quote is?
I don't remember exactly. No.
Well, I got it right here. I never took off my hat to fashion and held it out for pennies. By God, I told them the truth.
Yeah.
So you have that, okay? Then you have personally directed by Erich von Stroheim, which is great. I love that credit because he was so sick of the studio. Like he was, Then you have dedicated to my mother, which he says. And then you have like something telling you that you are at the Big Dipper gold mine in Placer County in 1908. That's so much info.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
movie.
Turner put some of that shit before the movie.
Turner put the stuff about the restoration. Yes, they did.
It is well. I think it is important to know going into this movie. You're sitting down for 4 hours. It's important to know you're watching a reconstructed version.
Definitely. I'm just saying that's what I mean when I say like I felt like I watched a thesis. Like it was like a study. I
mean, honestly, we're lucky that any of this film still exists because 75% of silent films are lost forever.
Yeah.
75%. That means entire directors and actors' whole careers are lost forever.
Yeah.
Which is so sad because that's the magic of film is that you live, it's eternal.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I was not overloaded by that. I think.
I don't mean that I'm overloaded. I just mean like objectively, that's so much to start a movie with.
I guess, but then the story itself starts very simply. You're in a mine, and there's a guy.
The opening is beautiful.
And he
it
has a
reminded
bird.
me of Late Spring.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Like the chimney.
The pillow shots.
Yeah, the pillow shots. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
I think, again, that's part of the charm of this movie is how it starts so small. You're just with a guy in a mine and his bird. And then someone what do they do?
Slaps the bird out of his hand and he gets angry.
Yeah, after he kisses the close-up of kisses
I love
the bird.
That close-up. I love it. So close-ups are one of the really like revolutionary things about this movie, apparently, along with deep focus.
I mean, wait, how do you think that the close-ups are revolutionary, though? Because even going back,
revolutionary,
this is 1924, and like we did Intolerance, which was 1916.
It had a lot of close-ups.
Yeah.
It's just like it was meant, everything that I read was like, oh, he was applauded for his use of close-ups.
Okay, no, I mean, they're well done.
They are. Deep focus, though, like people say that like, oh, Citizen Kane is wrong to have like all the credit for deep focus because this movie existed.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, like during the wedding, you see out the window, there's that parade. That was great.
Yes.
That one was really good. And then, and montage edits. So like, that's why Eisenstein loved him so much because it like there are all those moments where it's like something's happening and then it cuts to something else that's like a symbolic edit. Like the first kiss.
Oh, yeah.
And then the train.
Yeah.
Not the first kiss. The first kiss where she is conscious. And then the train.
Let's talk about that.
Well, if I start talking about that, I'm going to talk about their whole relationship and that's going to be long.
Well, we should get into it a little bit.
I will.
Oh, you want to say, okay.
No, I just want to mention other like cool edits that I thought were interesting. Yeah. Like, okay, when that incident is happening, there's this quote about him like about his hereditary evil that's like moving under a sewer. Do you remember that?
I saved the quote because I thought it was so great. The quote is, "But below the fine fabric of all that was good in him ran the foul stream of hereditary evil like a sewer."
I love that. So when they're walking like on those train tracks, did you notice the cut to like this sewer cap?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
That was so cool.
Yeah.
I love how on the wedding night, it fades from him to like the bird cage that then gets out of focus. Oh, also, I would just like to note that would be my face as well if someone gave me a bird as a wedding gift. Did you notice how she was like trying to pretend like she liked it?
Yeah.
That was me.
Hey, it's special to him, but he's not reading the room.
Oh, the cat that's like stalking birds that it cuts to all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Great. It actually that one of the times that it does that is when she's like sitting on his lap and she's like, "Love me big, Mac."
That's why I love this so much is the stuff like that. It's the cut to the sewer. It's the cat because it adds all this contextual stuff to it.
Yes. And let's talk about the gold that apparently von Stroheim hand tinted himself into every frame.
Yeah, and it's not just the gold. It's also the bird is tinted, the tooth. The blue in her dead hand.
Yeah. Wasn't the tooth didn't it remind you of Django a little bit?
Yeah.
Like that big tooth he has on the carriage.
I bet that's exactly where that came from. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the gold. I thought that was a really nice touch.
It's one of the first shots in the movie, the gold at the mine.
Yeah, another interesting thing happens where stylistically, like when that creepy guy, the junk collector that Maria is married to,
Zerkow or
when
something.
He's dreaming about
He's not creepy. He's Mr. Dreamboat. Are you kidding?
He's the creepiest, weirdest thing I've ever seen captured to celluloid.
I couldn't believe that she said yes to marrying him.
Yeah. Like, what? Maria,
like, what?
You're cool.
Yeah. That guy's such a deadbeat. That guy's such a ghoul.
Literally. definitely a ghoul. That's exactly what he is.
Do you know what ghoul is? I just found this out in the last year. What the like actual definition of a ghoul
What's a
is?
ghoul?
It's someone that goes to a cemetery and digs up bodies.
Oh, that's what he does. But
Yeah,
he digs
that's what
up.
it looks like.
That's
Yeah.
that's what I was getting to. Like stylistically, there's
Yeah.
a really cool thing where it kind of turns into like this expressionist dream nightmare where he's in the cemetery. He's trying to find this hidden treasure that Maria has told him about. And did you notice how the cemetery is and how all the crosses are like crooked and it's weird? I loved that.
Well, it's also like a
that were
super
great.
low rent cemetery, so it's kind of in shambles already. But yeah, it was like this almost expressionistic.
Exactly. So that was very, very cool. I mean, I wish I had actually seen it. I just saw a photo of it.
I mean, it doesn't exist.
Exactly, which gets to my central problem with
But
this movie.
would you rather
is that
get
it
the
doesn't exist?
Would you rather get the photo or would you rather not get it at all? You know what I mean?
We're not getting it. We're not getting it.
I got it. I was still in those scenes where it was just the still photos. I was in them.
I don't know if I was in them. Ask me tomorrow. I don't
Wait,
think I was.
You would know though. Ask you tomorrow.
I don't think I was.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's sad.
It is sad. It's a great sadness.
Oh, what about another color we didn't talk about? The blood on the coins.
Oh yeah,
that one's good.
that continual shot of the hands coming down to like the coins.
Oh yeah, that's also I feel like very expressionistic.
Yeah, very expressionistic. Very cool stuff.
Really weird.
He uses it sparingly. Those hands freaked me out. There's something weird going on in the way that like the hands the arms look bent at some weird angle.
Yeah.
I don't quite know how they did that.
It's very creepy, and I love that this movie's creepy. I love that he was a creepy guy, kind of. He had this persona of like weird and dark and unconventional.
Yeah.
And apparently the studio had asked him if he could end the movie with Mac waking up in his dentist chair like it was all a bad dream.
God. Barf.
That would have been so bad. So one thing I love, I read that there was, in an original cut, a 40-minute scene depicting what all the tenants did on a Saturday. Like you would follow one person for
I love that.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
It's so incredible, so novelistic in the best way. And it really, I was thinking about that, and I was thinking how episodic this movie is, and it kind of reminds me of like a PTA movie. Hear me out.
Yeah.
Totally, right? Or even like
Yeah.
a Scorsese movie.
I love episodic stuff.
Exactly. One of the people that saw the 9-hour version, his name was Harry Carr, and he wrote a review. Actually, he saw this. See, there's even some speculation about which one those 12 people saw. Did they see the 9-hour version or did they see the 7-hour version?
Jesus.
But anyway, that really long one. He said about it, episodes come along that you think have no bearing on the story. Then 12 or 14 reels later, it hits you with a crash.
Well, honestly, that was still kind of in this 4-hour version. Stuff like
it was
same
definitely
way.
the bird at the beginning and then the bird at the end.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I love it so much, is because stuff does get introduced that you're like, wait, how does that tie in? And then later you're like, oh. Yeah.
What about the whole like theater thing when he goes to buy tickets for the theater and he like loses his temper? He's like, I want to be on the right side of the stage.
Yeah.
And the guy at the box office is like, oh, that's right by the drums. Or no, he thinks that the right side is not with drums, but the box office guy is telling him, actually, you're going to be right next to the drums if you do that. And he's like, no, I want it. And he's like, you don't know what you want. And yeah, I saw that scene. I'm like, weird. Like, it's so strange to have a scene like that where nothing happens, but it's just an expression of how discombobulated he is. And
because it's a big studio movie. Like,
exactly.
I think most movies from the time, even look at like Sunrise and stuff, which again, I love. And I think is a better film just because it's maybe finished and stuff.
Yes.
But well, you know what? Actually, I don't quite know if I stand by that. In some ways, this is more interesting than Sunrise. But I'll just say that, like, most of those, even that one where the husband is going to kill his wife, like, that's a whole point of the movie. Everything turns out okay.
Yeah,
and, like,
exactly.
This had the guts to, like, have a fucking weirdo as a protagonist.
Yes. So
and follow him
weird.
for 4 hours.
Yes.
Like, hats off for that. And to end with him being left for dead in the desert.
And the fact that it is episodic. I mean, like, even Intolerance is like, I guess it's episodic, but it's more, each plot line is more plotty.
Yes.
It is.
And that's about 4 simultaneous stories
plot
that are
lines.
played
and
out at the same time.
that's why it's 4 hours long, but this is just one.
No, Intolerance is only like 3, I think.
Was it?
I think it's like 3. It's a good hour shorter than this, if I remember, yeah.
You know, I would have loved to see Trina's slow descent into like obsession with money, because I feel like it's rushed. Even though this movie's 4 hours long, I feel like it's a little rushed. Like her greed gradually growing.
See, I actually kind of felt like it was properly paced.
Really? But there was more. That's the thing. Like, I want to see more. I want to see it in action.
So if they found
slowly falling
the 9-hour print, you would watch it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Not all in one sitting, but I would watch it.
Yeah. Oh, I love the story. I love the subplot of Maria's baby that dies. It's so dark with this grimy ghoul.
Cool.
There's a really tragic line too that's talking about the baby.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like not even a fully formed thing or something.
It's like, oh my God. And then
Maria.
And then it shows him with like a little baby coffin.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
It is wild.
It talks about the unfortunate child or something. I'm like, well, yeah, if it's that guy's kid, then it's definitely unfortunate.
Half ghoul.
Who's sleeping with this guy in his pile of trash? He lives in a shack with a bunch of trash.
What's so sad is that she marries him, and there's even like a title card that says, oh, like to inherit all of his treasures, like because he collects junk. And then he's marrying her because she's told him that there's this like
these plates
inheritance of like, golden plates. So they're both marrying each other for greed.
Yeah.
But with Maria, I'm just like, sis, you really like that's what you treasure? His junk? You think that's worth something?
Because there's money to be made from it. She think her whole business is in junk. It's getting junk off the tenants to go sell to him.
Okay, when she was going up to them and saying, got any junk, I legitimately thought she was talking about drugs.
Yeah, you know, it's funny of watching a movie that's 100 years old. There's some language where you're like, wait, which way are they using? Because in one of the intertitles, it's talking about the love of, I think it's the older couple. And it's talking about their retarded love. And I was like, okay.
I saw that. I saw that. Exactly. There's so many like that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of
like, wait, how did people use this word 100 years ago?
I know. This movie's almost 100 years old.
Yeah. 2 years short of being 100 years old.
But Intolerance is still the oldest that we've done, I think.
1916.
Wow. When was Sunrise?
Sunrise was 20s, mid-20s or something. Might have even been like 28 or 20. 20.
Oh, yeah. Didn't we talk about this? How it felt older than...
Yeah, because it had sync sound, actually. Yes. Movie tone.
So let's talk about this romance. I mean, this is really just a story about a couple who doesn't like each other very much.
Yeah. I mean, look, for 1924, this is a pretty vivid and grueling portrait of a failing marriage. From beginning to
start,
end.
She hates him. She does not like this man.
I wouldn't say that. I didn't get the vibe that she hated him.
Maybe like sexually attracted to him for whatever reason, but she does not. She's not interested.
She's
in
into
this man.
bear-like men.
Exactly. And there's even a line where it says, like, after he's hit her, there's this intertitle that's like, oh, but she was strangely, like, essentially turned on.
Yeah, by being submissive.
There's this weird, like, sexual thing going on.
See, again, you just mentioned another thing. That's why I love this movie.
No, it is cool.
It's super nuanced, and it feels really ahead of its time in that way.
Definitely.
And I can see why everyone thought it was, like, depraved.
They have this weird sexual thing going on, but, like, in reality, they don't really like each other.
Yeah, but that's just like in real life. People can have sexual chemistry.
So... Sorry, I'm just thinking about how much she hates him.
So their first kiss is while she's
unconscious, okay?
In the dentist chair. They show him go to kiss her.
He can't keep it in his pants. He's having a fit. He's about straight up having a fit.
Because I thought when I first saw this, because I was still behind him at that point. At that point in the movie, before he kisses her when she's unconscious, I was still behind him.
Yeah.
And he like almost does it. And I'm like, oh, okay, they just showed that because it's silent film and they want to show that he wants to, but he's not going to. And then they just go there of showing him actually kiss her on the mouth.
But it's not romanticized. Like the music swells in a really weird way.
Yeah, no, of course.
And it does the same thing when he like basically forces her to kiss him like when they're by the train. So the music is in a weird like dramatic way, not in like a romantic swell way, which is great. Like the movie knows that he's
wrong,
brutish, and yeah.
So you're saying that von Stroheim is not Renoir?
No.
I still don't think that's romanticized.
Okay, well, it is.
We're talking about Day in the Country.
It is. That line about the below the fine fabric of all that was good in him ran the foul stream of hereditary evil. That's a really sad line because we do see his dad in the beginning and his dad is kind of a piece of shit. So it's like, what is he saying?
I forget. Why is the dad a piece of shit? I'm trying to remember.
He was like, I don't know, drinking and like prostituting around. He was not prostituting himself. He was just sleeping with the, like, you don't remember this in the beginning?
Oh, yeah, sure.
So it's almost like he's saying like, oh, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then you have,
because we get that. When do we get that inner title? It's right before he kisses her.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the worst proposal in the history of proposals. Are you ready? Listen here, Miss Trina. I like you better than anyone else. What's the matter with us getting married? Like, is that the worst proposal of all? Like,
yeah.
Of all cinema. And she freaks out. She flips. She's like, oh, no. Like, she does not want this man. And you know what? It makes sense, okay? She's never loved him, okay? I feel like the movie knows it. One of the things I love about this movie is that very fact. She isn't a person who has love in her life. Besides her parents who like leave her and she never sees them again, it seems like. Yeah, why should she let her husband use her money? And then I can see like that mentality of like, okay, she doesn't have love in her life. It's easy to turn to money and like put all your love in money. And she's Scrooge.
Yeah.
Because
it's funny
she
because
doesn't have love.
When I started off too, I was like behind her. I'm like, yeah, good for you. Like stash that money away for a rainy day and like be smart about it.
Yes, and
but
it's not that weird to deny him money for beer.
Right.
Like that really wasn't weird at all.
But then it's like when their living situation, when their living situation goes way downhill and they have to move into the shack that Zerkow killed Maria in.
I love that detail when he's like, honey, I don't want to live here. Like a murder happened here.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine. It's cheap.
Yeah. She still won't take the $5,000 out.
That's crazy.
Also, let's talk about too from the beginning, just how like everyone is dumb with money in this movie. So like she puts the money in her uncle's business, which is, first of all, you're not supposed to mix, there's that saying like you don't mix money and family, like business. And it's just like her putting it in is not a great choice. Mm-hmm. And then later when she goes to draw it out to take the money out and the uncle's like, okay, this isn't very business-like. It's like, it'd be better if you just took it all out at once. And then she does withdraw the whole thing. But yeah, from the beginning, you can just tell she doesn't really know what to do with it, but she means well. Here's the thing. A lot of the characters in this movie, their intentions are good initially. Mm-hmm. Even the piece of shit friend, what's his name again?
Marcus.
Yeah. He's even in the beginning, you're like, oh yeah, okay. Well, know.
And then he turns like jealous.
Also, that's his cousin.
That's true.
Trina
/ girlfriend
is his cousin.
Yes. Did you like how her parents, all the inner titles had like heavy German accents?
Yes. That was almost too much. That was too much.
So much.
I almost had to pause it a couple times to be like, wait, what the fuck does this say?
I kind of loved it, but it was too much.
Yeah.
Another great, not great, but just like the inner title when he's like trying to get her to submit to him and it's like, oh, come on.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing.
So bad.
Here's the thing. You have to cut inner titles some like leeway because it's an inner title. You know what I mean?
And then it's followed by, oh, please, please.
Yeah. Like it's not supposed to be.
I understand. I just like, it's funny. Like it was.
Right. It's almost more just like getting the idea of the dialogue across than the actual dialogue.
Yeah. So her whole thing, okay, is she says, so that happens, right? That train night. She goes home to her mom and they have the worst conversation of all time. With that heavy German accent, denn it must be der Doktor. That's what the mom says when she's asking, oh, do you love Marcus?
Right.
Or no, the doctor. Worst conversation of all time.
Why is it the worst conversation of all time?
Because then she goes, I guess I do love Marcus. And I'm not saying it's bad I'm not saying it's a like
just how she's so wishy-washy.
It's just such a bad conversation to have with your mom.
How old is she?
Nowhere. And it's like you're just literally admitting you don't love this person, and then in the next scene she's like, oh, actually I do love you. It's very sad. Their relationship is like sad to me. And it's so funny because I started thinking about it. I'm like, okay, she has the approval of her mother. If she wanted to marry him, she could marry him. Like, why is she holding back so much? She really doesn't love him and she doesn't know what else to do.
Yeah, but here's
what else
historical
is she supposed
context.
To do?
Historical context.
That's what I'm saying. Historical context. What else is she supposed to do? She has to get married.
She could be mid-20s, which back then was old. And it's like, why am I not married yet? And people back then, honestly, most people didn't marry out of love. They married out of like
I totally
the
understand
first person that comes along.
And I love that
Yeah.
about this movie. This is something I love about this movie. I'm not saying this is a weakness, that horrible conversation. It's a strength. Minus the German. But what else? And then their wedding night is literally a horror movie. She is
It's filmed
scared.
like a horror movie.
It's
Yeah.
filmed like a horror movie.
Yeah.
The shoes. She's literally trying to hold back screams.
Yeah. It's good.
It's good. It's really
She's
good.
coming down the hallway.
Oh
She
my
goes
God,
into
she
the
sees
room.
her mom. She's like, Mom, please save me from this man.
Yeah.
And Mom's like, oh, you're so cute. Like, get up there.
I love that.
I love it. I love it. And he gets her that bird. Obviously, now there's 2 birds in the cage, and it's like so symbolic.
Yeah.
And then there's this great zoom out. Did you notice, first of all, she kisses him finally, or he forces her to kiss him, and then she cries, throws herself onto the bed. He closes the curtain. There's that great zoom out.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that?
I
That's
do.
one of my favorite shots.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their
shit.
relationship is so shit. I love it.
And it gets to a point, too. I mean, the last sort of third of this movie, like, things are not good.
No.
Things are very, very bad.
And then he starts becoming physically abusive. I mean, he's
Yeah.
kind of sexually abusive the whole time.
Yes.
But
No, they're both kind of hitting each other and stuff, and they're living in squalor, and the movie's not afraid to go there. I can see why this bombed so bad when it came out.
Yeah.
People are not ready to see this stuff on screen. Again, even like Sunrise, which we mentioned about a guy killing his wife, it's fabulistic and it all turns out okay.
Exactly.
This is watching 2 miserable people. We've seen them meet, we've seen their relationship, and we see just downhill. And we see them just go to the depths of hell.
yes.
It should be noted, too, that Zazu Pitts went on to be primarily known for comedy.
I can see why.
Yeah.
She's a very
She kind of has that face. That,
physical
Yeah.
comedian.
but again, she spends so much of this movie in anguish. Like, her eyes are so big, and she's, like, laying down, or she's, like, looking
Or knocked
frightened.
out.
Or, yeah. God.
Oh, I'd just like to say, on that note, that's actually a really good note. Did you notice that she literally turns into Elaine from Seinfeld at one point?
No.
When Marcus comes and says, like, I'm leaving, and then they stand by the door to watch him leave, and she literally, like, pushes Mac.
Get
Just
out.
get out. Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And she's, like, laughing, and they're both laughing, and he even touches his chest, like, ow, that hurt. She's Elaine.
Yeah,
And
that's
that
good.
makes sense. So she's a comedian.
Yeah.
The family, this is like one of my last points. The family is eating skull at the wedding. Did you notice that? They're eating like a sheep's skull.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I have to say about that.
Listen, they're Austrian, and this is 100 years ago. I don't know.
Yes. And then, of course, loco weed,
Yeah.
which apparently the horse eats in the last sequence.
Goes crazy.
What is loco weed?
I don't know.
How can I get some?
I don't think you want any.
They
if it does that to
kill
a
him.
horse.
They kill him.
Also, I feel like they did not
They
think
did
that
not
through.
need to kill him. That
I'm
was
like-
literally their ride out.
Yeah. Because who comes up with that? Mac is like, we're going to kill this
Stupid.
horse.
Yeah, it's don't let him suffer. Like, okay, so he's high a little
Like,
bit.
you
Let
guys
him
have-
fade out of it. Like,
You guys are 100 miles in the middle of the desert. Like, you cannot
They're
just
so
walk out of here.
stupid.
They're like basically out of water.
yeah, they are out of water because
Yeah.
they shoot.
He shoots it. Yeah. He shoots the canteen. Dumb. Very dumb. I
Have you-
love just the whole last act of this movie.
It turns into a western.
I think, too,
like
it
a
does.
silly, almost a silly western with like his stars
Silly.
and his badges and his gun
Unmarked.
holster.
Yeah, but that's the character he is. He's playing the part. You know, that's all he knows. He's a little bastard, too.
He
He's
is
just
a little
like,
bastard.
he's getting off on playing cowboy. Also, they shot in Death Valley, and apparently everyone got sick
Understandably
when they were shooting
so.
it. I think it was several weeks in Death Valley.
Should we do sight and sound?
Let's do it.
So I gotta shout something out. Totally. I feel like underused. Mother McTeague really moved me. She's only in it for a few minutes. She was originally in it for an hour.
Wow.
In the original cut.
So that means there's an hour before he leaves the
Yes.
mining town?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I think she's fantastic. And I think my favorite sight is truly just like it happens very early on. It's just a close up of her. And she really moved me. She's just looking really sad. She knows her husband is out drinking. Favorite sight.
It's human. It's naturalistic.
It's so naturalistic for a silent film.
Down to
She
earth.
looks so real.
Mhm.
She really, really does. And props to her because I think it's my favorite sight.
Nice.
Another close one was there's this really great close-up of Mac and Trina meeting for the first time. Their hands shaking.
Oh, I remember that.
And I'm such a sucker for like close-ups on body parts.
Yeah.
So that.
Cool. Mine is, it's the last shot. It's basically the last shot.
It's good.
It's McTeague handcuffed to Mark in the desert. He pulls the bird out of the cage. He sets it free.
That's not just one shot. That's a whole sequence.
No, it's like, I feel like it's, well, okay. Then it's the final shot of just the sort of like crane of him handcuffed to this dead person who used to be his friend.
You know what's so funny? I was at LA
Left to die.
Shorts, the film festival, this last weekend, because my movie was there, and I watched another short in the sequence that in the program that mine was in about. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. It was not in the program I was in. It was in another program I watched before about the same thing. It was two guys in the desert. One of them is like unconscious. The guy is handcuffed to him. Another guy.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
so
like
similar.
a classic trope, though, I feel like.
Is it really? It must have come from this.
Maybe. It could have come from literature before this, too. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, it's an iconic image. It's used really well in this.
It is.
Yeah.
What's your favorite sound?
My favorite sound is, so it's an intertitle.
Doesn't count.
It has to count because
That's
the score,
not a sound.
but the score from this is from 1999. So how would that count? We don't have the original. If we're being that pure about it, there should be no favorite sound because we don't know what the actual original score sounds like. You know what I mean?
I suppose.
So mine is an intertitle.
Such a loophole.
It's when he's pulling Trina's tooth and an intertitle comes up and it just says, and for the first time in his life, McTeague felt an inkling of ambition to please a woman.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's really, really funny.
How about you? Favorite sound?
Well, it's music. Sorry. And it's music also in the beginning. How weird. I chose two things like from the beginning.
The beginning is very striking.
It's just this little jingle that reminded me a lot of Toy Story, funnily enough. It's like So Woody's Roundup.
Classic Jackie.
What does Pauline say?
There's no Pauline on this.
Oh my God. Our girl's been letting us down.
I could find that she liked it. I know that she liked it. According to one article, she liked it. That's all I could find about it, but I could not find a review on it. And again, I think it has something to do with it kind of being in limbo for a long time and kind of incomplete, even though it was on the Sight and Sound list. But I think she only went back and reviewed older movies like a handful of times.
Okay, well, that sucks. I know Roger Ebert loves those.
You'd probably be hard to find a critic who didn't like it.
Well, that was that one that I read at the start.
Well, like modern critics.
So, Letterboxd?
Let's do it. I've got 3.5 stars. Very few films feel as influential as this one. It has the deep focus camera work of Citizen Kane, the montage-heavy editing of Eisenstein,
wow,
and the thematic content of Treasure of the Sierra Madre. It also uses the pop moralizing tactics of D.W. Griffith in order to make a heavy-handed point about its titular idea, but, in my opinion, pulls it off more poetically and elegantly than Griffith ever did. Erich von Stroheim successfully condemns greed and selfishness by depicting their horrendously corrosive effects. But then they go on to say, unfortunately, the released version of the movie is incredibly distant from the director's vision, blah, blah, blah. As a result, it feels like there's something missing here, although I'm not entirely sure that more footage would automatically enhance the overall movie. So mixed on that one.
0.5 star. Sorry I can't be an indie girl because this film was so boring. Y'all, I know it has a deep meaning, but goddamn, I wish they talked.
Okay. Also, this movie, it's literally not an independent movie, so it's released by a major studio. Someone gave it 1.5 stars and said, obviously this is more than a little influenced by my mood, but geez, this sucks. Everything feels painfully obvious from a thematic standpoint, And I feel like everything that's said is something I already know. Okay. It's not presented in an interesting way, so I'm left counting the minutes till the 4-hour runtime elapses. Glad it's over. Back to rewatching shit I know I love. That's fucking depressing. That is so depressing.
Oh my God.
What kind of life is that to live?
A lot of people live that life.
Yeah, that's true.
I know many personally.
Yeah,
They're close
me too.
friends of mine.
Me too.
2.5 stars. Kind of boring. I wish I could see the 8-hour cut. See, that's kind of how I feel, though.
Were you bored in this?
I was more like angry. I was like...
Angry? But I'm curious why.
Because, Greg, how can you watch a movie that's not a movie? The director himself said that's not a movie anymore. That's just intertitles.
Yeah, but it's still the runtime that he had wanted. And you're just getting the lost stuff in stills.
Not the same thing.
I don't know. 5 stars. One of the most aggressively nihilistic films I've ever seen.
That's true.
Yeah.
Sorry, to go back to what you said, it is mostly stills. It's not like it's just a few stills. It is mostly stills.
Yeah, but I think I would rather take the reconstructed version with the stills than the way shorter film. Because I think all that extra stuff adds to the layers of the movie. It
does.
Yeah. And
You're right.
You can't go back in time and prevent the film from being burned, you know? It's like what's done is done. This is what we have to work with.
Maybe it's in South Africa.
That would be one of the great discoveries of our lifetime.
Maybe I can get a ticket to the Eyes Wide Shut party.
I doubt you'd want to go to that party.
It's probably so weird.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, look, in this case, it's just the best, you know what I mean? It's like a necessary evil. Like you either watch it with the stills or you watch a way shortened, cut down version. It's like, that's all we have. So I guess there's a certain kind of like leeway that I'm giving the film, at least, because I know that a big chunk of it is lost. But the stills, honestly, having the stills is better than nothing. You know what I mean? At least you can like envision how it was going to look.
Yeah.
I don't know. It worked for me.
Okay, here's one that I think sounds like me. 2.5 stars. There's a good movie in here. Problem is, either 4 hours of stills and the reconstruction is too much, or just far too little compared to what was supposed to be in its original 9-hour epic inception. As it stands, these characters and philosophies can't stand to fill this amount of time up without repetition and shallowness becoming the name of the game. Revolutionary for its time, I'm sure. In the current day and age, this is a film whose moments of true cinematic excitement and formal excellence are too few and far between. Opening, finale, and confronting scenes being some of the few. A historical document perhaps far better in myth and influence than in living, breathing sideshow.
That's really well thought out.
It really is. That's kind of how I feel.
It's one of the rare, eloquent letterboxed reviews that we've read.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's Greed.
That was Greed. How do you compare this to Intolerance? Let's compare it to Intolerance, and let's compare this to Brighter Summer Day, because they're both 4 hours and we just did that one.
I like Brighter Summer Day more. I like Intolerance more.
Really?
They're movies.
You know what? I like this more than either of those.
You suck.
Because I think ultimately,
you know what? Okay, wait.
This story is the most interesting of the three.
Time out. Story-wise, I like it more than Intolerance.
As a film.
I don't see this as a film.
Come on, you don't see this as a film? Come on.
This is my hot take. This is not a movie.
Oh my God. What? It is literally a film.
I am breaking the... it's not. No, this is where I stand. This is why I won't rate it on Letterboxd, and this is why I refuse to say whether I like this or not, because I don't see this as a movie.
That's a very hot take.
I'm doing something wild.
Hey, listen.
This is wild. This is the wildest thing I've ever done in my entire life.
This is going on record on your tombstone about Greed. This is not a movie.
This is why I want to see the 2.5 hour cut. I really do.
To see a bunch of stuff missing?
to see what everyone loved so much to like have it on the list for so many years.
Yeah, but everything
To
you
influence
saw
Eisenstein,
everything. You
to
saw
influence
everything
Lubitsch,
that would be on the
Renoir.
2 hour 40-minute version or 2 hour 20-minute version.
But to see it as a coherent, cohesive thing
But
that
it's not gonna be
am not
cohesive.
going to be taken out of. It is cohesive.
No, because the studio cut it down willy-nilly.
No, but the 2.5 hour cut is not full of stills.
Yeah, but it's not his vision. Like this is
Well-
closer to his vision than the 2 hour 21.
Okay, but the 2 hour 21, it still gained the love of all of the cinematic community before 1999.
Yeah, but I'm sure those same people see this version and are like, oh.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Mm-mm.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Look, I admit that you have to watch it with a slightly different. You can't watch this as a normal film because of the stills, but it helps paint the bigger picture.
Like, okay, Star is Born, the Judy Garland one, there's a bunch of missing footage.
Right.
There's a bunch of stills.
But not this much.
Not as much, yeah. But I get so anxious when those come on because I'm just like,
I wonder what it is about the stills doing this to you. That's so
because
funny.
it goes against what cinema is, moving pictures.
No, but you just mentioned La Jetée, and I know that's
because
intentional.
That's experimental and intentional and only 30 minutes.
Yeah, but again, I mean, I get what you're saying. I'm just having a hard time connecting with it.
That's fine. That's totally fine.
I mean, yeah, because we just can't have what this is supposed to be. We can never have.
Exactly. So what do we want it to be?
Do you want
I
the studio
personally-
butchered version?
Well, I want to see the version that everyone loved and raved about.
I'd be curious. You should see that version.
I should, but I can't. It's nowhere.
Well, you know what? Videotech.
Oh, maybe.
I feel like there's probably a good DVD out
Where
of
it's
that
like, oh,
2
you
hour,
can
20-minute
watch
version.
this one and you can watch that one.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe.
I don't know what the story with that 84-minute version is. That's what is that like?
Yeah.
Just the intro of the movie, and that's
no, but
it.
I also saw a 2 hour version on YouTube. Just plain 2 hours.
That
no
might
2.5.
that might be the 2.5 just played at a slightly higher frame rate.
Maybe. Yeah.
It's like when we did Passion of Joan of Arc, and like that movie varied by like 20-30 minute differences because of the different frame rates that you could watch it in.
I want to go back to those days. I watched that and then I watched the Bresson Joan of Arc. Remember how like sad but happy I was in those few weeks?
Well, speaking of Bresson,
Exactly.
next week our film is number 16 on the list. It's Bresson's Au Hazard Balthazar.
I'm so excited.
I'm excited because I actually have not seen this one before.
You're such a weirdo.
This is a blind spot for me.
Truly, you're weird.
Wait, how is that weird?
You watch every single like random movie that was ever made that anyone ever just like I don't know, poofed into existence, but you haven't seen Au Hazard Balthazar? Like, that's weird.
There's a couple key ones that I'm missing, you know.
Well,
but
this is a big one.
I'm very excited to see this.
You will watch a random like 2 hour stop motion movie that was made in like Antarctica. That's about like, I don't know, a shoe. But you won't watch Au Hazard Balthazar? Like the fact that you haven't seen it.
Well, it's not because it's been on my watch list. I just, you know, I have no good excuse.
But you know what I'm saying? You will watch the most like random movies.
Well, I try to watch
hard to find,
everything, a little bit of everything.
Very under the radar, which is great, which is very cool of you. But the fact that you haven't seen this is a little weird.
Well, it'll make for a good episode because
I'm excited.
you've seen this one and
Yeah,
I haven't.
I love it. It's so good.
Yeah.
You're gonna love it.
It's cool. I'm excited. I'm very excited. I'm a Bresson fan too.
Then it,
Well.
Okay,
Not
get
everything. But the movies of his I like really love. So I'm very excited to see this. What can I say?
cool. Gonna be fun.
So come back next week. We're doing our first Bresson.
Bresson.
Is it Robert or Robert?
Probably Robert.
Yeah. Robert Bresson.
Yeah.
Come back. Au Hazard Balthazar next week, right here on Seen and Heard. Until then, I'm Greg.
I'm Jackie.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
This has been an official podcast of the Arroyo Film Club. Seen and Heard is Jacqueline Pistachian and Greg Kleinschmidt. Theme music by Andrew Cox. You can find us at seenandheardpod.com.